Won't it be nice when somebody works out how to solve the age-old problem of not having enough time? Of course, we all know that we all have the same amount of time in our day, and we have the same amount of our time, the same amount of time in our day as we do now, as we did, 10 years ago, and as we probably will in another 10 years as well. So we're never actually going to physically be able to give ourselves more time in a day. 24 hours is probably it. What we can do though is really reshape our priorities. And marketing is one of those things that if this has not been on your to-do list, if this is not something that you have prioritized, it's actually going to take you to physically make sure that you cut out time to do this marketing, or employ a resource, or outsource this to someone who sells their time to get this marketing done, because marketing doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't happen by you simply just thinking about it, and it certainly doesn't happen by you talking about it and not actually doing anything to make sure it does happen. But I can't give you more time. I can certainly give you some little time-saving hacks. I'm going to give you 3 of them today, and that's actually based around something that I believe in marketing takes up a huge amount of time, and that is content marketing. If we look at the nature of social media, and some will be more prolific than others, but they are beasts in terms of how much content that we need to publish on the platforms. Now, if you're like me and you're active on, say, even 3 platforms, let alone if you're active on more of those platforms, that's a lot of content. Something like Instagram requires daily kind of content, and Facebook doesn't require daily content, but LinkedIn, if you're turning up daily, you get some super results, as long as that content's actually adding value and not just pissing people off. So thinking about creating that content schedule and keeping up with that when you already don't have, a hell of a lot of time within that 24 hours to spare, you really need to think about ways that you can be really efficient and effective with your time. So with your content planning, I've got 3 tips that I can share, and these have helped instrumentally for us as an agency, for the stuff that we do for us, but also for the stuff that we do for our clients. So number 1, have a content planning session. There is nothing more procrastination inducing than getting to your allotted time on a Friday, or whenever you've carved out that couple of hours to tackle your marketing in. There's nothing more annoying than getting to that 2 hours and going, right, what am I going to post about? What am I going to write that blog article on? What am I going to do that video on? What am I actually going to, put together for that graphic design image? Because then you can sit there and waste that whole 2 hours, and then it becomes hard, and then you become distracted, and then it just doesn't happen. So take the opportunity to actually sit down and plan out your content. So for us, this is like a huge brainstorming session where we literally just go, right, pick a topic, any topic, and let's flesh it out. So say, for example, if we're going to talk about content marketing, what are all the things that we can talk about for content marketing? Well, there's video. Okay, within video, what are all the things that we can talk about within video? Well, then there's the lighting, there's the audio, there's the who do we actually put in the video, and et cetera, et cetera. So then another element of content marketing, written copy, blog copy. Okay, what are some of the elements of blog copy? What topics can we talk about? How can we actually write these blog posts? Do we actually include links to other websites? Do we include images? Where are we going to get those images from? Think through how you're actually going to produce this content and what the topic of this content is going to be. You might do it via topic. So you might go, if we go back to content marketing, okay, one of the topics is blogs, what's all of the things that we can talk about there? How to write a good headline, how to include, effective contextual links, etc. And then you might go, okay, now we've got all of our topic headlines. Which channels will we share these various little snippets out on? So on the topic of how to write a good headline, we can write a blog post on that. We can record a video on that. If you have a podcast, we can actually record a podcast episode on that. And then you can plan out your content that way. So if you've got like a really limited amount of social media or digital marketing channels that you're planning your content for, that's going to be quite an easy process. The more channels that you have, the more convoluted that content planning does become, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't plan it, because it just really helps that when you've got that 2 hours ready to go to get your content done, you've got a list there waiting, going, great, I'm going to tackle the blog post today. I'm going to do all the content that I need to do for that. Great, 2 hours well spent, in it goes to the content bank. Number 2, batch your content production. So while we've just kind of batched our planning, now we're going to batch the production. So say, for example, with this podcast, with Snack Time, I will record, 4 or 5 episodes at once. And which is why if you're watching the video, you'll see me again and again turn up in this pink top or the shirt that I've worn for the previous batch. But that's fine. Some of you probably haven't noticed until I pointed that out. But yeah, so just sit there and batch it, because again, you can set aside 2 hours within your week and go, right, I'm going to get my snack times. And for me, my snack times are weekly. I'm going to get those all done for the month of September. So then they're actually done. And I don't have to think on week, gosh, shit, I've got another episode of Snack Time that's due to go out. I'll have to record it and make sure it's in the pipeline ready to go. So batching your content as much as possible. We do that with social media as well, particularly when we've planned out content for our clients and we know exactly what we're going to post about for the next month. We'll sit down at the beginning of the month and plan it all out, make sure the blog posts are all done, and then schedule all of our content out via the social media channels. Which brings me on, great segue for point number 3, use scheduling tools. If you're using Facebook, use the Facebook scheduling tool, because Facebook will respond much better to using anything within the platform. But for other channels like Instagram or LinkedIn, Twitter, we use Hootsuite, but there are literally thousands and thousands. There's another one for Instagram called Later that we're actually trialing at the moment. There are so many of them. Honestly, if you just type into Google or ask someone for recommendations, there's a stack of scheduling tools that you can use. So again, as I said, we actually sit down at the beginning of the month, and actually once we've planned the content, batched the content production, got it all ready, we'll then actually sit there and schedule it all out. And that doesn't mean that we don't actually post throughout that month spontaneously, because, with things like the stories features, it actually does, they work better when you do actually have, spontaneous content that you're recording kind of now, and also responding to now. So it doesn't mean that we kind of just set and forget and don't then do anything with the channels. It just means we've got the bulk of the content ready to go. And then all we need to do is just kind of check in, reply to comments, post anything spontaneously, etc., etc. So there are 3 time-saving hacks when it comes to your content marketing. I hope they save you a bunch of time.